Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about Guild Wars 2 now that we've properly addressed the whole pay-to-win situation, which if you're watching this later on YouTube, there was recent developments with Guild Wars 2 about a particular item shop feature that they've started selling that was somewhat frustrating. But I've been playing Guild Wars 2 over the past week and change, and it has been tremendously fun. I've been having an absolute blast. The footage that you guys are watching, this is from a previous stream. I've been playing an Asura Engineer, and I've been playing the brakes off of this game. And at this point, we've actually finished the base story. And this is actually the first time that I finished the base story, because when the original Guild Wars, I say the original Guild Wars, I mean the base game. When the base game came out, I played it. I leveled the character to max, but I never actually finished the story, interestingly enough. Naturally, there's been some improvements made since then. So some of the things I'm assuming have changed. They've been maybe a little bit more streamlined. And I'm currently jumping into the Living World content. As a matter of fact, in this stream was when we did the first part of Living World, and we're currently going through the second part. It's just I've been really busy creating a bunch of content, and I haven't gotten around to finishing all of the Living World stuff. But I did buy it. I bought all of the Living World stuff, as well as some additional stash tabs for my character and whatnot, so that I don't have to do as much inventory wars. But if you're watching this video, you might be wondering, is Guild Wars worth it in 2023? In my opinion, very much so. As a matter of fact, I'm going to say something that a lot of people are going to absolutely disagree with, but it is also something that is somewhat backed up by Josh Strife Hayes, because he also said something of a similar effect in one of his Twitter posts, and that is that of the big four MMOs, like I think probably the four biggest MMOs that people usually talk about, I think it is widely accepted. Some people might have a different opinion, but in my opinion, the four biggest MMOs right now are World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV, Elder Scrolls Online, and Guild Wars 2. Of these four MMOs, I would go as far as to say that Guild Wars 2 is potentially the best bang for your buck. I actually think that Guild Wars 2 is the best bang for your buck, because you buy the game, you have it forever. It's a buy-to-play experience. You don't really have a subscription model. Now, there are some disadvantages that come with this model. Naturally, one of the things is naturally the restricted space in your inventory and in your bank, which is, you're going to be expected to put a little bit of an investment. You don't have to. I played for over 90, almost over 100 hours, I think, at this point. I played over 100 hours of the game without putting any more money into it besides just buying the game. And I bought some expansions, but I haven't even played them. So, like, I own the 3 expansions. I don't own the last one that came out, but I haven't really even played them. I've just been playing the base game. And now, okay, so the value is there. In my opinion, there's plenty of content to do, plenty of stuff to do in the maps. There's plenty of community interaction. So where does this game sit in terms of its features when compared to some of the other ones? So for starters, in terms of combat, it is a mix of action and tap targeting. It is not pure tap targeting to the point where it even has like an action camera. You can actually just aim your shots if you're playing like a ranged character and all of that. But you can also play at tap targeting, but it is a hybrid. You have a dodge button, you have dodge charges, so you can actively dodge attacks that are incoming, and you get invincibility frames and all this stuff. So the combat is a bit of a hybrid, and it is very satisfying. In my opinion, it is very satisfying. So let's talk about the 4 big MMOs and what is the best thing that they do. So for ESO, I'm going to be honest, I haven't played a whole lot of ESO, but I believe one of the best things about ESO is most likely going to be the way in which it tells its story. Everything in ESO is voice acted to the best of my ability. So that's kind of like the thing that it occupies. Good storytelling. You can go through, do a bunch of different stories, do a bunch of different quest lines and all of that stuff. Some of the downsides of ESO would be stuff like they sell you quest lines. Like, one of the things that is one of the most famous things about ESO that I always hear about is like, oh, the Dark Brotherhood, super important. They sell you that quest line. It's a separate purchase from an expansion or anything like that, right? But you know, what it excels at is its storytelling, because in my opinion, I don't actually like the combat in ESO. Maybe I'm in the minority there. I think the combat in ESO is not particularly satisfying. So that's ESO. Final Fantasy XIV, again, storytelling is one of the best things about that game. Not everything is voice acted though, but the quality of the story, in my opinion, is unmatched. But that's also going to vary from person to person because the story just really resonates with me. So Final Fantasy XIV, excellent storytelling, an amazing experience all the way from beginning to end, even though Realm Reborn, a bit of a slow start and all of that, but huge payoffs later in the later expansions, which is really cool because it's one overarching narrative that allows them to really plant seeds and then reap them much later in the story, and in that thing, I think it is unmatched. Another really good thing about Final Fantasy XIV, best controller support out of any of these 4 MMOs. As a matter of fact, I was going to say it's the only one, but no, I'm assuming ESO also offers controller support. But 14 is unmatched when it comes to its controller support. So if you're somebody that likes controller support, amazing. Another thing the 14 has that is awesome, cross-play across all platforms that it exists in. So you can be playing on PC with someone that's playing on PlayStation 5, all of that, right? That's where it excels. And finally, Final Fantasy XIV is one of the best ones if you want to actually do raiding as a newcomer. It is incredibly friendly to newcomers when it comes to raiding, doing trials, doing all of that stuff. Super friendly. So that's like what 14 brings to the table. What does World of Warcraft bring to the table in the middle of all this? World of Warcraft has the most responsive combat. The combat is good in 14. The combat is good in Guild Wars 2. The responsiveness of combat in World of Warcraft is, in my opinion, unmatched. It is very responsive, but it is tap targeting. Exclusively tap targeting. So there's that. It's just there's something about pressing buttons in World of Warcraft that none of these other MMOs really recreates quite as precisely. Okay? That's not to say that these other games don't play as well. It's just, that's what I'm saying. That's their biggest thing. The other thing that they have, legacy. They've been around potentially the longest. They've been around the longest. They have a really good art style. However, their story used to be good, then became garbage. Like, I'm sorry. Shadowlands, hot garbage. Dragonflight, not that great. It's whatever. So, you know, that's where WoW sits. And it's also World of Warcraft is the most popular. You know? So there's that. And then Guild Wars, in the middle of all this, actually occupies a very interesting middle space. Because you've got value. You don't need a sub to play it. The combat, even though it's not as responsive as World of Warcraft, it is very responsive. It is very fluid. It feels very good to play. And it has the best open world experience. What do I mean by that? Just off of this random footage, you can see that I'm doing an event with like 2 other players roaming around. All of this is organic. I didn't form a party to do this. We all just happened to be doing the same objective at the same time. The reasoning behind this is because Guild Wars 2 maps are really well made in a way that they continuously reward players even after they reach max level. They get rewarded for going back to these maps and doing things that they didn't do before, which is a good thing because it keeps maps alive. On top of it, these maps have like a completion aspect to them where you're going to go through and you're going to be doing different things. Like you'll see a bunch of icons in this map as I'm scrolling through. Those red icons with mountains, those are vistas. You go there, you click there, and it's like a little vista animation, and it's cool. But you complete that, and once you complete the whole map, you get rewards, which is why players are going through and still doing some of these maps to this day. Then the hearts, these are almost like the quests of Guild Wars 2, because the cool thing about Guild Wars 2 is it has no traditional questing. And some of you might be like, oh, this sounds like a bad thing. No, the fact that Guild Wars 2 doesn't have traditional questing is really good because they don't have the need to fill the maps with meaningless stuff for you to do. What they have is just have tons and tons of activities that you can choose to do in a map or not. But they don't have like quests that just say, oh, go here, kill these mobs, go there, kill these mobs. It's just like you do whatever you want, you go to whatever map you want, you do whatever you feel like. And then at certain intervals, you get a story. So like at level 10, you get an evolution on your personal story, which there's actually dialogue choices and all of these things. And there's even choices that you can make throughout your personal storyline, wherein, for instance, you will have a situation where an NPC will ask you, okay, so here's these two scenarios, okay? We need to get information from this other group of individuals. Now, we can go about this covertly, and you will be expected to do kind of like a stealth mission where you go in and you infiltrate and you do all of these things. Or you can just go in, guns blazing, murder everyone, and get the information that way. And that, you know, that will have effects on the next couple of scenarios that you do or whatnot. I mostly just went in guns blazing to everything because that's just the way that I tend to do things. But, you know, there are choices that you are making throughout your personal story. Now, understand, I'm just talking about the base game at this point. I will follow this video up when we go into Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire and End of Dragons and all of that stuff, right? This is just base game. So there's these quests that you do, and those are like your big quests. You're not going to be expected to be doing quests all the time. Now, another reason why this is really good is if you're playing with a friend, you can effectively just join your friend while the two of you are leveling, and you don't have to be worried about, oh, did you get quest X? Did you get quest B? Oh, no, I'm not on that quest chain. I got to think about going to get that quest chain so that we can go back. No, you just get together and play. Or again, like, look, again, another party just formed here of me and 3 other players, and god damn it, I'm sorry about this notification thing. I don't know what the hell is going on here, but get the hell away. I'm going to be removing that. There, it shouldn't be bothering us anymore. Now, as I was saying, as you can see, parties just form organically and you just going through the thing. Now, on top of you having static objectives in each of these maps that contribute towards map completion, there's also events. And these events sometimes lead to more scaled up events, which I believe people call meta events or whatever. And so a lot of times you'll actually see veteran players come down to the starting maps of the base expansion and just running a big train of players through the map, murdering everything and triggering these meta events, and you'll get to do like these big boss fights on the outside. Like right here, this is, again, this is a group event. Actually, no, this is not a group event. This is an event that you can do solo. But there's a group of people here doing it. And sometimes there's group events like this that actually require you to do stuff that requires a little bit more coordination, dodge stuff, you know, buff other players, heal, get them rezzed up, do all of that stuff, okay? Which is cool because it keeps these maps alive even as you're going through what is essentially legacy content. You know, I could have gone through the content a lot faster and just boosted myself through, but I took my time exploring these maps, which was enjoyable, even though the game is, you know, you're going to look at these visuals, you're going to think, that feels a little bit dated. It's one of those things that you get used to it fairly fast. So you watching some gameplay of this right now is actually not super representative of what your experience would be if you were playing the game. Because you get used to the art style pretty fast, and it's actually a pretty reasonable art style that is not going to get dated that fast. For MMO standards, at least. I think the game looks good. But, you know, to each their own, all of that usual stuff. So there's map events, map completion, tons of stuff that you can go and do and have fun, and then there is your personal story. Now, the base game's personal story is not amazing. Like, it serves its function, it's fine, and the conclusion of it is pretty epic, but gameplay-wise, it is rough. See, because at the end of the game, I'm going to tell you a little bit of what happens at the end of the game without spoiling it, but let's just say that at the end of the game, there's a fight, and you're on an airship, and I was like, this is epic as hell. But apparently, you know, back in the day, this fight was actually something that you had to do with more players, and so they had to streamline that to allow newcomers to be able to do that fight properly. And that means that fight is not as well polished. But I will say, it was epic as hell. You're going in on a big airship, and then a bigger airship shows up, and you jump ships because your ship's getting destroyed, and you're fighting this massive dragon in the sky. The scale of it is amazing, and I can't wait to see some of that tech pay off in future expansions, because I'm sure they built up on top of that to make it better, right? So overall, the story experience, the story's not going to blow your mind, but it serves its purpose to introduce you to the game, and it does a pretty decent job. I was also doubly disappointed by the fact that I'm playing an Asura, and people told me that apparently Zoja, which is a main Asura character, was actually voiced by Felicia Day. Which is cool. I like Felicia Day, but apparently there were some issues with her scheduling or whatever, so she didn't come back to voice the character. So apparently if you play other races, you get to interact with like your race representative, so to speak, of the Destiny's Edge, which is a group of, well-known heroes in the Guild Wars story. You get to interact with them more often, whereas if you're playing an Asura, you just get these emails from Zoja every now and then saying, hey, you're doing great! So I was like, man, that sucks. It would have been amazing to actually have Zoja show up as you are going through your story. I think that would actually have been really, really cool. But, it is what it is. So that would be something that if I was to give some feedback, it would definitely be like, hey, make the Asura quest line, have Zoja show up more often. If Felicia Day can't do it, have someone come in and mimic her voice or pay her to come in now and do it afterwards. It's just, I do believe that one of the biggest things that MMOs need to do is have a good new player experience, because you need that to be able to ease players back into the game, right? But anyways, like I said, the story overall, it served its purpose. I thought it was fine. It just didn't blow my mind. I didn't think it was super amazing. But some of the stuff that you do in the story, so the actual missions themselves, I thought those were pretty good, because they let you play your character, blow up a bunch of stuff. Sometimes there's some funny banter in between. It's cool, but a lot of times in the cinematics and the events, they happen a little bit too fast. So like, for instance, the way in which they handle character deaths and all of that stuff, I felt like they happened way too fast. So I'll meet a character in one mission, and then like 2 missions after that, they'll kill off that character, and it's supposed to be this big emotional moment. And I was like, bro, I barely knew you. I don't know what to tell you. I guess you died. That's too bad. I barely knew you, But overall, that was still pretty good. And then naturally, I mean, we can't talk about Guild Wars 2 without talking about the mounts, but I can't say much about the mounts because I believe I haven't really been through the expansion where the mounts actually pop up is in Path of Fire, I think. I think Heart of Thorns is like gliders and whatnot, which again, I haven't gotten there either. And then Path of Fire will be when you get actual mounts and stuff like that, right? So I haven't been through that. I'll be very curious to test that out, because naturally there's got to be something super special about Guild Wars mounts. You'll see that I do have one of the mounts here because I went there just to get this one mount. Chat was telling me, hey, you can get like one ground mount like real easy without spoiling the story. So that's what I did with my previous level 80 character, just to have one mount to go through the maps a little bit faster. But I won't be getting the other mounts until I actually get there organically through the story. So that means I'll be doing all the Living World stuff, then I'll be doing Heart of Thorns, then I'll be doing the Living World stuff from that, and then I'll be doing Path of Fire, because I want to experience the game as it was. I don't want to be skipping through just to brush through the game, because I think that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, overall, really enjoyable experience. Definitely huge value, particularly because the game is not super expensive. And even recently they had like a sale. I don't know if the sale is still going on or not, but I really enjoyed my time with it so far. I will be coming back to Guild of Wars. I'm going to be taking a break because there's World of Warcraft Season of Discovery coming up, and I want to play that as well. But I will be playing Guild of Wars in the background. I'll be playing Guild Wars in the background as well. And I think this is a game that people don't talk about that much. And this was something that I've spoken with Akalon recently. If you guys watched that unofficial Frozen Sodium Throne episode, you guys will know that, Akalon was asking me, why don't people talk about Guild Wars 2 more? And the reasoning is there's usually not that much drama around Guild Wars 2. People talk about video games when there's drama surrounding it, like something happened. And there's always bad shit happening in World of Warcraft. There's always, nowadays, because there's content droughts, there's also drama that happens in 14. And I don't know about ESO if there's drama there as well or not. I don't really follow ESO as closely, but it just feels like usually there's not as much drama happening in Guild Wars 2, and the people playing Guild Wars 2, they're just enjoying themselves. So the game doesn't really enter the public discourse as much unless there's like a new expansion coming out or something along those lines. Now, I know that a lot of people are going to be asking me, but Rurikhan, what about the PvP? I haven't done any of the PvP. That's like a whole nother aspect that Guild Wars has that is really good, according to what people tell me. To me, I just see that as sprinkles in the top of my cupcake, okay? To me, the big thing is always PvE content. I still need to go and do fractals. I still need to go and see if I can do strikes. I still need to go and, do some more PvP. I did a little bit of PvP. It was fun, the little bit that I did. Won like 2 matches, lost 1, something like that. I haven't done World v World, which I believe is also really fun. But, going through, testing stuff out, just enjoying the game at my own pace and leveling up my elite specialization. I'm playing an Asura Engineer, currently a Hollowsmith, but I'm probably going to be checking out the Mechanist as soon as I get to Heart of Thorns to get a bunch of new hero points. And, I'll be able to swap specializations then. That's another thing that I would like to see in Guild Wars 2. Is like, I'd like to see a respec, which apparently is not a thing. And I understand why, because you can get hero points to completely fill out the thing and still have hero points left over. But the thing is, what happens when, for instance, someone like me, I'm currently in the Living World content, so there's not that many hero points that I can go and farm because every new ability for my Hollowsmith costs like 10 hero points, and I've already spent like, I don't know, 60, 70, 80 points into it, right? And I was like, oh, I want to try out Mechanist. Well, I can't. I mean, there's a way that people tell me, well, you can do this thing where you'll teleport to a friend that's further ahead of you, and then you guys can go on a hero train, murder half of a map, and in an expansion, and then you get like all of these hero points. And it's like, yeah, you can do all that, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to go to an expansion that I haven't been to. Wouldn't it just be easier to let me respec my points? Just let me respec them. Just let me be like, okay, I tried out Hollowsmith. I don't want to go Hollowsmith anymore. Let me take all these points away and put them towards Mechanist. It's just weird that that's not a feature. I feel like that should totally be a thing. Because right now, I have like 2 seasons of Living World to go through before I actually go to Heart of Thorns expansion, at which point I'll be able to get some of those 10 points and I can start leveling up the other specialization. Now, naturally, I can skip all this and go straight to the expansion and experience the story out of order, but it just doesn't feel like it makes that much sense because I want to experience the story in order. So, there is a solution there where I can just go grind this stuff out. But what's the big deal about just, I'll just take these points away, put them over here? I don't know. I feel like that should be a no-brainer. The other thing that I would have a criticism of is this game used to have dungeons, like traditional instanced dungeons, besides fractals, which fractals is like a different form of dungeons that it has. Fractals is kind of like the Mythic Plus equivalent of this game. But it used to have traditional, like, leveling dungeons you're supposed to do at certain levels. Doing those now as a new player, yeah, it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. I tried getting into groups for them throughout several points in the story. Wasn't able to get it done. Was not able to do those dungeons. Which kind of sucks, because I'm sure that those are interesting, but it's whatever. And finally, some people might be asking, okay, but isn't Guild Wars 2 that game that doesn't have the Trinity? Doesn't that suck? Why wouldn't you want to have tanks, healers, and DPS? The reality is, Guild Wars 2 does have the Trinity. It's just not mandatory. And by it has the Trinity, what I'm trying to say is, every class can be a healer, every class can be a DPS, and every class can be a tank. It's all a matter of how you build yourself. Most players go towards DPS. That doesn't mean that you can't build more supporting, so to speak. And I believe that for raids, you actually need certain boons, so you actually need certain classes to build for support in order to be able to pump out enough DPS to actually go through the encounters. But again, that's just like, armchair commentary because I haven't really experienced it. Overall, if you were to ask me, Rurikhan, would you recommend Guild Wars 2 in 2023? Yes, and it would probably be a lot easier to recommend than any of the other 4 big MMOs that I mentioned on this list. The thing is, for some strange reason, this MMO is not as popular as the other ones, and it's really weird for me because it's a really good game. But anyways, those are my thoughts on Guild Wars 2. I think the game is amazing. I think it kind of sucks that there's some controversy going on, actually just as I'm recording this video today, because of the fact that they started selling hero points in the store. And I was like, it's kind of like, oh, there's your solution to your respec problem, Rurikhan. Just buy all the hero points. It's like, you know, it feels icky. It's one of those things that feels icky. Would it stop me from recommending the game? No, I still think the game is amazing, but I would definitely not recommend people to ruin their experience by boosting characters to max level and skip content or buy hero points from the store. It's like, no, just do the content. It'll be more fun. It's just such a weird thing, but you know, it is what it is. I think the game's really fun. I think the game's really good, and I think it's in a really good place. And initially I started playing Guild Wars 2 because I was, you know, after 2023 and all of the stuff that I've been working on the main channel, all of the games and all that, I just wanted something more familiar. I wanted to dive back into MMOs where I can just chill and just do some content that is maybe a little bit simpler, doesn't require as much of my attention, talk to chat, do all of this other stuff, which is also why I've been streaming on Twitch, more relaxed environment and all of that stuff, right? And you know, as I get excited to jump back in MMOs, World of Warcraft announced Season of Discovery and all of these other things. And I was like, okay, I don't want to sub to World of Warcraft right this instance because this was like 2 weeks ago, give or take. So I'm going to just play Guild Wars because I have all the expansions except for the last one, and I haven't even played them, so I might as well play Guild Wars. And the more I played Guild Wars, the more I was like, bro, I don't know if I want to play Season of Discovery. I just want to keep playing Guild Wars 2. And I don't even know for how long I'll play Season of Discovery. It all depends on how fun it is. But like Guild Wars 2 definitely has my attention. It's really fun. Highly recommend. Really good game. But anyway, that is going to be it for this video. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Subscribe, bell notification icon, all of that jazz. Thank you for watching.